thank you so much. Hey, I drove all the way down from the Dayton, Ohio area, and it was wild seeing this situation on Fox News. This lady getting knocked out, and it's like I'm sitting there going, "This is not Cincinnati, is it?" It's like, are you kidding me? People up in my area enjoy coming down to Cincinnati for a football game. Cincinnati Bengals, go to Montgomery Rib Boathouse, have some ribs, walk around from the hotel, and it's just like New York. I'm sitting on the fence. Do I go to New York for the Macy's Day Parade after seeing what I saw in New York 3 weeks ago with a long gun walking down the street? It's a snowball effect if you guys don't get this under control. Hotels will start losing employees. Taxi drivers won't be able to drive people around. Uber drivers won't be able to drive people around. People won't be able to feel safe from these small towns an hour out of Cincinnati to drive down here to go to a ball game. What you're thinking of how do we control this economic tsunami that's going to hit Cincinnati if this is not under control?
Why don't you give the last point, and I'll close it out.
Well, part of it is leadership. And I think that's what you're speaking on. And so we can't have a mayor, a city manager, which is the CEO of the city of Cincinnati, right, a police chief absent from governing the people. And that's what you've been watching on Fox News. People that are blaming everybody in the room except themselves. A basic counseling move when you sit down with a licensed counselor is own it. Where has the mayor, the manager, our police chief owned what happened in downtown? If we don't change this in the next election, everything you've described is going to happen. But it's going to take courage for people not to look at party, not to look at race, not to look at gender, not to look at hairstyle. For us to elect people that will represent us and that will hold each other accountable in a system. I am baffled that the President Pro Tem can write a message that those who were assaulted begged for it and still have their job as I stand here at Jim and Jack's. That is unacceptable. If we put leadership in place that affirms the perception that we're safe, the young lady in the back who lives in OTR will stay. That you in Dayton will come and we'll go to Dayton. But if we don't deal with safety issues in our city as number one, we're done. It is the number one issue, and we cannot elect anybody who has a position of defund, reimagine our police department. I'm not saying that police is the only answer, but right now when we're 200 down, it's one of the answers. We must make sure that we hire the best, we do the best training of them, and then most importantly, I'll end with this. We allow our police officers to do their job.
As we wrap this up tonight, I want to say how proud I am of Cincinnati tonight. Coming out tonight, thank you all. Give yourselves a round of applause for coming out here and having an open, honest dialogue and conversation. Give our co-host Christopher Smitherman a round of applause as well. I love that. We're going to be doing more together. And I think we're going to actually, if you're open to this, Christopher, we're going to actually do this in getting it right in Cincinnati. The beautiful thing about Ohio is we're actually a state of cities. Right? Think about Georgia, which is a comparable state. They've got Atlanta, but it's one city. The beauty of our state is we've got cities like Cincinnati. Got Dayton, where you came from. Toledo, Columbus, Cleveland, Akron, Youngstown. You name it. That's one of the advantages of our state. And so I haven't asked Christopher this yet, but I enjoyed this tonight. Maybe we should do this in the cities across the state as well, to be able to use Cincinnati as an example. Get it right here. Nail it in Cincinnati. Scale it across the state. What do you say? That sounds like a plan. All right, let's do that. Thank you. And that's what we wanted. Open dialogue with a culture of respect. I'll close on this point. Right? I think the true mark of a successful country, particularly in the United States, is are people brave enough to be able to say in public what they will otherwise say in private. And for the last decade, if we're being honest, there's been a big gap. When you think about the last decade, there's probably been the biggest gap between what people are willing to say in private versus what they're willing to say in public. What we're talking about today, this is considered in some circles to be politically incorrect, forbidden territory, urban crime. And there's a lot of underlying issues that even came up in this discussion, including tough issues relating to race, relating to history. We're not going to solve those problems by hiding from them. We're going to solve them by confronting those problems directly. Speak in your mind in the open. Say it with the spine. Say it with vigor, but say it with respect. And part of respect means that you respect your neighbor enough to tell them what you actually think, not some fake woke-washed or other-washed version of it. That's what brings us together. That's what makes us American. That's what makes our country, I believe, the greatest country known to the history of man, that we're actually able to do it. And what I love about Cincinnati, because this is not a unique conversation to this city. It's not even a unique conversation to our state. Look at what's happening in cities from New York to Sacramento, coast to coast, sea to shining sea. What you have is Cincinnati has an opportunity to set an example for what's possible for Ohio, what's possible for the United States. What I love about this city is you go a 100-mile radius of where we are. I was born and raised here in Evendale, is where we grew up for most, right off I-75. You go a 100-mile radius of where we are right now. You don't have a cross-section of Cincinnati. You've got a cross-section of the country. And I think that if there's one town that ought to set an example for how we fight this epidemic of violent crime, for how we actually restore respectful, open dialogue, it might as well be us. We were that city. We were that state for most of our history. I want to lead us to be that state again. And so, anyway, my commitment to all of you is in leading this state, we're going to stand for what is true. We're not going to apologize for our principles. We will not waver from our principles. We will stand for law enforcement. We will stand for the ability to do their jobs. We will stand for ending this wave of violent crime in our cities without apologizing for it. But we will do it in a way that, and I'll make you this promise tonight, and I'm going to ask you to hold me to this promise, it's not about Republicans or Democrats. This is not about left versus right. This is about up versus down. This is about right versus wrong. This is about common sense. And I don't care what you are, what your party is, what your race is, what your religion is, what your previous political statements have been. If you care about giving your kids a world-class education, if you care about restoring safety on the streets and bringing back law and order to the cities in our state, if you care about giving your kids the same shot at the American dream that this city gave to me and to my family, then we will work with you to lead Cincinnati, to lead the state of Ohio to greater heights than we have ever seen. We are not a state in decline. We are a state still on our way up, where we will look our kids in the eye and mean it when we tell them, you get ahead in the city of Cincinnati, you get ahead in the state of Ohio, and you get ahead in the United States of America with your own hard work, your own commitment, your own dedication, and you don't have to fear for violence as you do it. Thank you guys for coming out tonight. God bless you in our great state of Ohio. Thank you guys. Thank you for being here.